Hi! Today in Amigos and Friends, our first episode, we're going to talk about crime, the German police, and our feelings. Run the intro.
Él es mi amigo. He's my friend.
Somos amigos and friends.
Feelings.
Our feelings.
It is. Welcome to Amigos and Friends. Pilot episode. Yay!
Woohoo!
Sandy
We're here.
Jones, my
We're
friend.
doing it.
Let's start this project
Good
with
to be
everything
here.
we have.
Yes.
Welcome to Pokemon Studio.
It's lovely. Actually, I thought this was in Spanish. Sorry, I just need to I just reconstitute
Wait.
my brain. Okay,
Yeah,
all
we
right.
do speak Spanish to each other most of the time.
That's true. That's
Unless
true.
you're tired. This is our first episode of Amigos and Friends, an entertainment podcast. I see it in my head as a podcast slash late night show where we have sections, guests, and
I like this.
You like?
When you started saying that, you said a late night show with sections.
that's always interesting. That's what sells. Here's a clip. Put it up.
Put it up.
Look, I know that this will be maybe mostly our friends, but if anyone that doesn't know us is gonna be like, who the fuck are these guys? So Sandy Jones, who the fuck are you?
Okay, a little intro. I'm Sandy Jones. I'm a half British, half Bolivian stand-up comedian here in Berlin.
Latino in the house.
At least half of it. And
Which half?
yeah, that's the question. Upper half or lower? I don't know.
We'll figure out.
We'll figure
the
out.
sex parts.
Exactly. And I grew up moving around a lot. I've got a very mixed family background. There's also some Mauritian blood in there, and all kinds of different nationalities.
Where is that? Where is Mauritius?
Mauritius is a small island off the coast of Africa near Madagascar.
Ah,
It's where famously
African.
where the dodos went extinct.
all right, all right. So you have some African in you.
Indeed.
Is that in the Latino part?
Actually, it's on the other side.
And is it that in the lower part of your body?
It might be.
We'll figure out next. Don't miss out the next episode.
So yeah, slightly from Mauritius, the propensity to jump off a cliff and extinct myself like the dodos.
It's often there. Like, I have been forbidden to stand next to cliffs. I have to have a guardian with me every time.
Oh, really? Do you like that feeling when you're standing at the edge of a cliff, like looking down? Do you get a buzz? Do you care?
Depending on what's the point of being on the cliff. For example, at the bungee jumping.
Oh, okay.
My wife is terrified of heights, so she's like, never I would do that. But I've done it.
Okay.
And I enjoyed it a lot. But of course, I did get the because you're about to jump to the void. But, being on a mirador, how do you call that? Like viewpoint. Or
okay.
Or
like
being
a really
in
high bridge.
Very
or
high
something.
bridge. Or now that we were in Thailand and Vietnam, there's like a lot of high places to tourists around. Sometimes it's like there's this building where you go to the rooftop and there's a balcony where the roof is glass. So you just look very far.
Wow. Okay.
But you're safe. Except if something weird happens, like that earthquake that hit Thailand like 3 weeks after we were there. But you're safe because the purpose of you being in that height is not jumping. Mm-hmm. I'm usually very calm about it.
Okay.
There was this other part where it's like a little canyon, and to keep on going through the canyon, like both sides you have forest, but you're, 15 meters high. This is not something that it's built by man. So it's just dirt put together by nature there. And you walk there. My wife was like, no.
No chance. No way.
No way. She tried 15 times. And at the end, she managed to do it with me helping her and like, just look at me and I'll pull you. But when I walk through there, I'm fine. Like, I don't...
Interesting.
I don't feel the... Do you have this?
I think I have it. I have that like slight dread, but there's something about it that I kind of like. It's almost like a thrill.
Living
I think
at the
it's
edge.
a little bit like the feeling of a roller coaster.
Yeah.
You know, when you're on a really crazy roller coaster.
Yeah.
I quite like that thrill. So I'm terrified of it. And
So do you have vertigo that it prevents you from acting normally when you're in high places? Or
I definitely don't act like those guys that can stand on the edge of a pole that's
Yeah.
a sheer drop, and they're like balancing on one foot.
Some of them die.
Exactly. That's true.
Influencers don't do that. Yes,
Most of them do.
Yeah.
So I'm not like that loose, but I definitely have. I'm
There's fear of death,
trepidation. I'm like, oh god.
but you can
but
move
I quite
around.
like that feeling in the stomach in a weird way. It's like a buzz. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely the dodo in you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Well, hopefully the other part of you is preventing you from extinguishing
the
yourself.
more like stiff upper lip, logical British side is like, don't do that.
That would be
back
fun.
From the cliff, back from the
But
cliff.
don't do it because you can only do it once.
Indeed. Keep calm, carry on. Yes.
All right. So move around. You have a mixed background.
Moved around a lot. Yeah, we lived in like 6 or 7 different places when I was a kid.
Yeah. Did you learn many languages, or is it more like?
I learned a little bit of Indonesian. We lived there for some years. Sedikit bahasa. Saya
No idea.
mengerti.
You could be lying to me, and I wouldn't know.
I'm actually insulting you in a
Fuck.
different language.
Censorship here, please. Edition.
So that was great. I've obviously lived here in Germany now for about 6-7 years, learning German.
I just turned 7 years here.
Really?
In March.
We probably moved here roughly the same time then.
2018.
Yeah, in about March.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
16th of March. Fuck.
That's my sister's birthday as well.
Oh, man.
That's weird. There you go. It's
Yeah,
all coming together. Synchronicities.
We can say, no, we cannot say live from Berlin, but something like live from Berlin. Even if it just looks like Pokemon Studio, we're in Berlin.
I mean, we are in Berlin. We
Yeah.
could be anywhere.
Yeah,
but
we're gonna
trust
do-
us. We're in Berlin.
Most likely, we're going to do some episodes when we're on tour.
That's
and we-
right.
We can say live from Luxembourg or whatever.
Yeah,
But now
Leipzig.
it's in Berlin.
Exactly.
So 7 years, same season.
7 years
Nice.
here. I've pretty much been doing stand-up that whole time. I
Yeah.
started here.
You started here.
Started here.
All right.
And
did you go to an open mic and be like, I want to do that? Or did you have the idea before? Or how was that?
So with my start to stand-up, I had the idea before, years before. I'm talking like 10 years.
And then you're like, Berlin is a place to start.
So I came here to visit some friends, and then I ended up moving here for some work reasons. But I saw that they had this up-and-coming English comedy scene with a really good open mic scene.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll go and watch one and check it out. And I got there. I really enjoyed the show. I liked the fact that there was this huge range of skill. So there was newbies who are just starting.
You're like, yeah, that guy sucks. I could do that. I could do that better. It's the pushing point for a lot of stand-up comedians.
It's definitely. I mean, I definitely remember thinking, "Wow, there was a guy. I think he was 15, and he was, like a school kid, and he went up there, and he was like shaking, and he did it, and I was
very
like,
brave.
This guy is so brave.
Yes.
Like, come on, now's the time. I was 28 at the time.
You're like, how am I
was
not
like,
doing it?
come on, man. Yeah, and I've been wanting to do it since I was like teenager. I used to watch a lot of stand-up, and then having that idea of, I want to try was at least 10 years before.
Oh, shit.
So I finally watched one. I was like, cool, signed up to the next one.
It gives you the courage. It gives you the courage.
Exactly. I signed up to the same show, and then I did the set, and I noticed, I don't know if you had this in your first set, but the very first thing I did was a little riff, almost by accident.
Yeah.
I said something
Because
like...
you're nervous.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well, I've got the microphone, and that's good because I'm here and you're there. And then it was probably like 20, 30 people, and they all laughed at the same time, like, ha, 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 ha. And you get all of those eyes, like that wave of
Energy.
energy and interest. And I was like, oh. So before I'd even done the set, I was like, this is what I want to do forever.
Oh, man.
Just instantly.
That's a beautiful moment.
And so that was like, wow. And now I work in that club and I'm part
What's
of that
it
crew.
like? Cosmic.
Cosmic, yeah. That was in the old venue.
Cheers, Cosmic.
Shout out to Cosmic Comedy in Berlin. So that was really, really... It was just like one of those mind-blowing moments. I'm like, wow, I finally found it.
Yeah, I started doing theater, so I didn't get the same rush probably as you did, but I knew I wanted to do it anyway. And people were telling me, because I was doing comedy on YouTube. I've been doing YouTube since 2011.
Wow.
And I was doing theater 1 year before, so I was already hooked to the applause. But I was not used to the laughter because I was doing musical theater, so I was like, that applause on the end. But no, man, stand-up is giving it to you. If you're good, it's giving it to you 4 or 5 times a minute, the laughter, and maybe once a minute or every couple of minutes a bit applause if you're on fire. Oh, it's intoxicating.
It is. It's a buzz. It's a rush.
It
It's
is.
crazy.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people do it, even if they make no money, because it's a fucking rush.
Yeah, totally, man. And I don't know about you, but if I can't do it for a while, whether it's because I'm
Away.
in a place where there isn't stand up or whatever,
Yeah.
I miss it. I start dreaming about it. I start doing sets and then in the dream and they're like not going well and and you're like dragging through and then it's because my soul is wanting it,
Yeah.
just to be on
dread,
stage.
Like,
Like, God,
don't pay me, just put me on the
can't
stage.
remember the set. What was it? Oh, where's the booker? No, it's just
Oh man, that's beautiful.
yeah. So that's it. So I
Right.
want to know who the fuck are you? Because we've hung out a lot. We've done
Yeah.
loads of shows together.
Yes,
we've
yes.
we've been all around Germany. We've had
you know only the highlights.
yeah, we've had like I think a pretty decent kind of friendship, working relationship.
Yeah.
But this is a good chance to
Yeah.
dig deeper.
That's why we're here doing together Amigos and Friends. Well, hello, my name is Carlos, but I'm go by Chadmax since forever, half of my life. When I started doing YouTube, I coined the term because I had two characters in the YouTube channel. And if we're gonna have a topic, we're like, oh, we're gonna talk about St. Valentine's. So Chad will do the positive side of the topic, and then the other guy, Max, would do the negative side of the topic. So I was doing these characters, dressing white, dressing black, and for a while I did it like that. So it's Chad Max blogs. But
That's fascinating, by the way, because I was always wondering where that came from.
where that came from, I actually have this book. Let me pick it up.
Product placement. Available on Amazon?
Available on Amazon. I have this novel called Interdimensional. I'm gonna show it here on the camera.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I wrote this when I was 16 until I was 20.
What?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
But I published it when I was 30. In the pandemic, I turned 30 in 2020. So I couldn't do my party for 30, and I decided I'm gonna gift this to myself because it was quote unquote finished for 10 years, but it was just in my hard drive.
Just sitting there.
Yeah, so I self-published it, and that was cool.
That's awesome, man.
Of course, it's something thanks, man.
Yeah.
It's a story that a teenager wrote with no background of writing, with no of course it was very poorly written. So when I reviewed it to edit it for as a 30-year-old that already had 2 books, I was surprised by my story. It was not too bad. The story was not too bad. The grammar was shit, but the story was alright. So the character here, I bring it up because my nickname in high school was Chad, because my name is Carlos, and there were too many Carlos. I was in a rock band, so one of the members of the band nicknamed me Chad, and he was Armand, and the other guy, Alejandro, was Alexander, like that. So when I wrote my novel, I was like, okay, so my main character is me, and his name is Chad. But of course, you need more details, no? So I gave him a second name, Maximilian, and a full name and a full background story. So when I started my YouTube, I was like, Chad and Max, 2 characters, la la la. And when I started doing stand-up in 2013, it was just naturally there to choose. I'm not gonna be Carlos the comedian. It's like, no, I'm already someone on internet. People keep on telling me do stand up. I'm just gonna be Chadmax. And it's been a while. So when people call me Carlos, I feel weird.
Yeah, I remember once there was a lineup where we both did someone else's show, and your name was Carlos on the list.
Yeah.
And you were like, you were not comfortable with that.
I don't
It's
like
it's
that.
so interesting.
And I said, please don't. My name is Carlos Fontes, which is not as an author, I like it. It sounds like an author's name, but it doesn't sound like a comedian's name. So I was like, hey, I see that it's Carlos Fontes. Do not say that. Just please go Chadmax. She didn't care. She did Carlos Fontes, Chadmax. All right. Well, just a background there on the name because I know it's weird. I'm from Mexico. I'm 34. I'm a kid of the 90s, which means I'm just a mister on the 30-somethings that should go more often to the doctor and eat better, but I don't do it. I live in Berlin since 2018. I'm married to a beautiful German woman, and I am very proud to say I'm a full-time comedian. I do mostly Spanish, but here with the show, I'm starting also my English-speaking career. I've done English. Like, we've done English
We've
together.
done some shows together, yeah.
Yeah, it's was a couple of years ago already.
Yeah, we did a Latino comedians show in
In
English.
English. Yeah. I mean, it worked all right, but it's a lot of work and a lot of more competition. I'm not lying. I've done English stand-up comedy in this 12 years, not more than 14 times. Like,
Okay.
I'm not sure about the specific number because I did a couple of times in Mexico as well, but not more than 14 times.
Interesting.
At the moment of recording, no. Hopefully, I have a couple of gigs already on the go. But
But I want to know, why is your English so good?
thank you.
Yeah.
I
I mean, because you always lived in Mexico before you moved here,
I
right?
did, I did.
So it's definitely conversational and beyond. You know.
well, let's hope so for the sake of this podcast. When I was a kid, I was like 8 years in a private school, so you have bilingual education. That kick it off like because later I was not on a bilingual school, and later I was in regular Mexican public school, but I didn't notice then how important those first years were. It really pushed me ahead. So when we had, the government is now giving English classes in public schools, and we got that. I was top of the class. I was like, this is so easy. Even
you
then,
already had the
because I already
foundation.
had it, yeah.
Right, okay.
And of course, when you learn it young, it sticks there. But I think I got good conversationally by hanging out with internationals. So
In Mexico.
in Mexico, yeah, back in 2015, I was after college. I was like, I'm a young professional working my first couple of jobs, and I still wanted to be like in the party and yeah, let's hang out with internationals, and that's where I met my wife actually. But like those months, it was actually a couple of years of having international friends. It really pushes you to dust it off.
Totally.
But
right.
I actually don't consider I have that good English because I stop often to. But I guess by now, because the main language I speak to my wife is English, because German is, let's say, hard. German is hard. And I also trick her into speaking Spanish because Spanish is fun. And this is the fun language of the house. But we mostly speak English. And
Okay, I didn't know you guys mostly speak in English as well. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, there's
because she
zero-
does speak a little Spanish, or actually quite well.
Quite all right. I mean, she would say I speak a little Spanish, but that's a German thing.
Yeah,
And then they bilingual. You know?
sure.
Like,
Then they blow you away.
like,
Yeah, okay,
un poquito, sí.
exactly.
And then she's like doing super complex conversations.
Interesting. I can hear like a lot of parallels because I also have a German wife. We got married last year.
Yay!
Woohoo! And it's possible in Berlin these days
Yeah,
to do that. Like everyone's always surprised.
Yeah,
But, hey,
I don't have that much German skills anymore. I certify myself B1, which is intermediate level.
okay. So you did the test to get
I did
that.
the test
Okay.
because you needed to stay in the country when you come with a visa like mine,
Right.
which is a family reunification visa. You needed
Yeah.
to get your permanent residency, but I got it for, I want to say 4 years now, and then I stopped. I was like, that's enough.
You've
Thank
hit
you.
the level. Yeah. Okay.
That's what I need. Here's my paper, government. Thank you.
Interesting.
And I just never liked it.
I think so. I guess in a way, I can see a parallel with my approach to German that you had with English.
All right.
So I moved here really wanting to learn it. And as soon as I got here, I kind of fell in love with Berlin in the city.
All right.
But I felt like an outsider because, you're just in the train and there's conversations, there's the announcements.
Blah, 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 blah.
Zurückbleiben, bitte. And you're just
Yeah.
like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then like you going out partying, having fun, but just always being the one who was a little bit out of the loop.
Yeah,
And I
alright,
just
yeah.
didn't like that. So like I got quite into it. I never did a class or anything, but just forcing myself to speak.
You
and
never did a class?
Never done a class, no.
What?
Yeah. Just
and how's
learned
your-
it on the fly.
How's your German now?
It's since with my wife we were together for I think 4 years or so before we got married.
Yeah.
And interestingly, her English was she would even admit like an okay school level.
All right.
So I learned French at school. So I would equate probably my level of French now to
Yeah.
her level of English, which is like
Yeah.
comme ci comme ça, you know what I'm saying? So
Todo bien.
so we actually did almost like an exchange through those years. So her English now is mind blowing. It's so good. People ask her all the time, what part of the UK are you from? 'Cause
No!
she comes out with random little
All right.
colloquial slang
And
terms.
of course, the accent.
And the accent,
Living with you,
exactly, and so that's crazy. And then conversely, my German's also gone like, in comparison to what it was, really high up. But
That's a proper approach. You know, they tell you like you want to learn a language, you have to learn it.
Get married
in bed. People keep on saying to me like, "Oh, I aprendí español with the Latinas in bed," and I'm like, "Why do you talk so much in bed, dude?" Because I was impressed by some back in Mexico, some guys was like, "Wow, your Spanish is so."
Okay.
Native. What the fuck? How long you been here? Like 5 months. What?
whoa, okay,
And like, yeah, I dated like 12 girls, and they're like, all right, well. And in my case, and also Corina's case, it was not what they tell you because we immediately would switch to English. And so she was living in Mexico for a year, and she's like, I don't speak the Spanish that I should have been speaking. I came here speaking Spanish from school. And I don't practice because I'm with you, and we only speak English, and we very rarely speak Spanish to other people because when they meet me, they want to practice their English.
that's so true.
So she actually had to go back to classes in her third trip to Mexico when we were there living together. And with me, like I said, I was like, I'm done with the language. Whatever I know, it's up there. Of course, if you don't use it, it fades away. But I have to use it every once in a while, at least a couple of times a year when I go to my in-laws, only German. And there's always like, you should speak better German. I'm like, I'm sorry that my third language is not good enough for you speaking your first. So it's always one of those things. But at this point, after 7 years, I'm like, I'm very comfortable with the bubble I created for myself.
Sure, and I mean, you can. What I mean is like you don't have no German. So if you're in a train and there's an emergency and a stop, you know what's happening.
I understand. Yeah, I'm not a tourist.
That's what it's all about. It's just being able to defend yourself, understand what's happening, and if you want to chime in, you can. And if you're happy with that, then like I think that's a decent level.
I went to a doctor now to get a Zika test because we were, like I said, in Thailand and Vietnam, and you might have something from a mosquito and you don't know because you don't have symptoms, but it's there. So we went there, and the lady was like speaking to us full German, and I'm like, I know what she's saying. I just have a hard time replying, so I just go like, genau, ja.
Richtig.
Ja, klar, korrekt. Alles gut. But I feel like precisely I can defend myself in the language. And I guess when I have kids, I will have the need again to improve my skills. But right now, living the life of an international comedian that I mostly work in Spanish, living in English, like there is zero pressure. And I have so much to do that I'm like, sorry, German, I do not have time, energy, or want for you right now. So yeah, that's me.
I get it, man.
Full-time comedian since 2023. I'm the founder of the Comedy Fire Collective, and that's all the shows we've done with the Comedy Fire. And I'm constantly on tour. Except this summer, I'm gonna stay home. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do some podcasting.
Sounds good.
Let's do some editing.
Because if you're not on touring, you're always like in Asia or in Japan.
Those holidays.
Jet setting, you know.
I mean, when you're your own boss, you don't get all the benefits from being an employee. Like, you know, I don't get insurance. I have to pay for myself. I don't get sick days. So if you're sick and you cannot work, just don't work. It's fine. Just you're not gonna make any money.
Someone else will work.
Yeah. But of course, the benefits like, hey, I'm gonna take 1 month off and go to Asia to see the world, and I can still work online because I still program shows for you guys, and I still look for venues, and I still do some business negotiations calls from Asia. I just cannot perform. That hurt, by the way. It was 2 months, like since December to mid-February that I didn't perform. Oh, the longest I had.
It hurt, like financially, spiritually, all the above.
All the above.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of course you're distracted with, oh, look, the elephants, that's nice. Look, I have that frame from that place in Vietnam. It's called Vinh Ninh, I think. I'll have to read it again. And it's that river. I'm gonna take the effort and play some pictures here and for the podcast for you guys.
We're getting the visual.
You're getting the visual
right
there.
here.
That's with thread. But that was one of the most impressive places I've seen ever, man. And we were in a random trip. And like, last day in Vietnam is tomorrow. We're in a big city. We've seen it because we've been here 5 days. Is there something we can go there and back the same day? And then took us there. With no expectations, I was like,
Whoa.
what?
Okay.
So I did love it. But at the same time, I had enough. After 1 month, I'm like, I want to go back to my base. I want to go back to Berlin. I want to go back on stage. And of course, if I don't perform, I make way less money.
Of course. Yeah.
Of course. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, once a year or every year and a half, one of those. It's
A
good.
bigger trip. Yeah. Nice
Yeah,
one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, we could talk about Asia and Japan for a long time, but
Indeed.
let's can it for another time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess through this podcast, we'll keep on talking about our stuff and getting people to know us and getting to know each other on a deeper level, like we've been doing. But like I said, I wanted to implement some sections here. What about we start with the next thing?
Sounds good. Let's do it. I'm excited.
I have for you a question.
Okay.
A question that let's call this section Deep Talk.
Deep talk.
It looked like I said TikTok. I didn't say. Sorry, my Spanish is from the third world. My English is from the third world. Deep Talk. We're
Deep
gonna
talk.
Deep Talk.
Deep talk.
There you go. La plática profunda. This is my question for you, Sandy Jones. I can also answer it myself.
All right.
If you could commit a crime that after you did it, no one else could ever do it, so it would never happen again, but you have to do it yourself, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. So my mind is going specifically to something mysterious.
Mysterious?
It's mysterious.
All right.
I have a propensity for lost ancient high technology.
Oh, what?
I'm talking pyramids.
All right.
How
all
were
right.
they built? What's going on over there?
Yeah.
Giza Plateau.
How you saw that there was now something
So
underneath.
that's the recent thing that's happened, that they've got this new modeling that's suggesting that there's maybe some crazy stuff under there.
Yeah.
But if I could commit a crime
Yeah.
and no one, it couldn't happen again,
Yeah.
and I would get away with it. Like,
Yeah.
or do you go to jail if you create?
Let's say you
this
go
crime?
away with it.
You get away with it. Then I would somehow find a way to excavate it all, the whole Giza Plateau. I want to know everything that's down there, and then release the information.
Yeah, but then nobody will ever touch it again.
And then it can't be touched again, which preserves it.
Yeah.
But it's just a selfish.
Very selfish.
I want
yeah.
to know.
I want to know. I will tell you guys.
It's a crime.
But nobody can see it anymore.
It's a crime. It's a
It
selfish
is.
crime.
Oh man, I went a completely opposite direction. Like,
Okay,
it's
interesting.
funny. It's
But
funny.
that's good.
Yeah,
And I'd probably do the same at Pumapunku and Tiwanaku and Machu Picchu, because what's going on there?
There's a
man?
lot to explore.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I mean, that's a very expensive crime. You need a lot of equipment.
Yeah, that was a part of the crime.
right.
We were funded by
shit. By
international, treasure
By
hunters,
Black Rock.
Indiana Jones,
Indiana Jones kind of thing.
excavation type people, and
We were founded by aliens. And like, hey, I want my shit
yeah.
back. It's down there. Can you
who
bring
knows?
it up?
Well, we don't know until we find it. So
Oh.
it's the perfect crime, in my opinion.
I'll tell you what I would do. How do you say this in English? Malversación de fondos. When somebody with power to move money around and uses it for something different, corruption. Sort of things.
Laundering, money laundering.
No. For example, if I'm a governor and the country gives me, here you have this 1 million euros for your state, and then you're like, I'm gonna take 500, like 50%, and keep it.
I guess this is just corruption.
Yeah, corruption.
Yeah.
Corruption has many faces. The,
Sure.
the specific
This
crime
is,
would be like illegal deviation of funds.
Yeah.
And not just public, but in general. For example, there's people that donate to a cause and then
Yes.
people don't use it for that, but they
Yeah.
buy a fucking Ferrari.
And then the shell companies.
The shell company.
They put it in the shell
Yeah.
company.
And there's this thing that where there's a lot of money that's supposed to go places that it doesn't arrive, that takes lives. There's a lot of, for example, in Mexico, we had this super famous case of the governor in Veracruz. It was like a decade ago. Took what budget was for cancer medicine.
Oh, God.
And just like fucking stole it. And they gave cancer kids just water.
Oh my
in
God.
the chemists, and it's like, hey, the thing is not doing anything, and so a lot of people died from that. And
He's like, well, placebo's a real thing. you
yeah,
know,
it's like, well, some people got better. It's like, yeah, but you gave them fucking water.
That's crazy.
It's crazy and it's real. So he was apprehended later, but that takes lives.
Totally.
So in a very heroic / selfish way, I would commit that crime, be a millionaire, and save the world. Nobody can ever do it again.
I love it.
All the money has to go where it's supposed to go, and it has to do what it was supposed to do, and I would be rich.
That's great. We're kind of both selfishly wanting altruistic things
greater
in a
good.
weird thing, in a weird way.
in a weird way.
Wow. But from completely different angles.
I would never expect where you came from. Usually people go, like, I saw this in a different podcast, and
I'd be invisible. Or,
no, they go something like, I would kill someone.
go back in time and
And-
kill a bad actor.
Like, not even. You just kill someone that is very bad today, and then, first of all, you get rid of somebody that's very bad, but second of all, nobody can kill anyone ever again.
but
Because
then
it cannot-
that's Death Note. You're a
No,
manga
but-
guy, no? Like he,
Yeah.
he goes crazy with the whole
With the let's kill bad people.
and then
Yeah,
it becomes
yeah.
this power that's impossible
Yeah.
to hold. And
But in this case, no one can ever kill anyone again. And in Death Note, he just kills every bad person he considers
correct. But then that's the blurry line. Like, who's actually
Yeah,
bad? Are
that's-
you then bad?
If you haven't
Because
seen that, give it a check. It's on
I'm
Netflix.
not a huge anime fan. I like some of them, but that's one that a friend recommended, and I
Definitely.
genuinely enjoyed it.
Yeah, I also I convinced my wife, and I was like, I know you don't like animation in general. She's like, no, that's our cartoons. I was like, yeah, but if you can look past that, there's so many good stories that you're missing out on.
It's the story
And then
side,
I was
yeah.
like, for example, Death Note. And then I rewatched it. We watched it together, and she was like, all right, that's very good.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
It's
and
good.
after the second episode, you forget that you're watching an animation.
That's so true.
Yeah. So and
With one of that level of quality, like
yeah, if the story's
terms
good,
of the story, yeah.
yeah, of course you can. And there's also like Invincible and Amazon Prime. It's like a comic style. It is more like the premise: what would happen if Superman goes evil?
Oh,
you know,
I've not heard
it's
of
like,
that.
isn't that interesting? And it's
Definitely.
like, there you go. Because with animation, with a way lower budget, you can take licenses that with real people kind of effects. No, we cannot do that. It's too expensive. And animation is like, it cost
Whoa.
the fucking same to do one boring story in an apartment and just people talking because I still have to animate it than superhero shit. So animation has
Totally.
that going for it.
Yeah.
Well, that was our section.
That was section. Deep
Talk.
talk.
Wow.
That was good synchronization as well.
And looking into a camera.
Deep talk.
I have something interesting for you.
Okay.
We live in Germany, and when I saw this in the news, I was like, oh shit. So the German police having issues with like the
Okay, so I don't know if we can.
maybe we cannot say that.
I don't think we can leave that in. We'll move on. We'll move on.
Well, remove it.
Next section. All right.
Next section. We have another section for you guys, and it's the recommendations. Our daily recommendation. Sandy, I dream to having a fucking just a program about talking about content because I consume so much, but I cannot do that. I want to have it as a little part of our show. What about that?
Okay, sounds good. Like a nice little sprinkle at
Yeah,
the
like,
end.
hey, so we're gonna close every episode with a daily recommendation of content. It can be a podcast, series, movie, or whatever you're recently consuming. It can be also something old, like, you all should be watching this. This movie is called Idiocracy. It's from 2005, 2006. Have you seen it?
I've not seen it.
What?
I've heard good things.
Man.
And I have tell me all about it, and I have a little tidbit, as even without having seen it, something that has become actual day to day.
Yes.
But
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, the premise of this is this guy who is in the cover. He's just an average guy. He's working in the military, and
Luke Wilson, by the way.
Luke Wilson,
Shout
yeah.
out to him.
he's just a lazy guy. He gets by. He's average in every way. Lazy, trying to work less to get by. So he ends up in a library in somewhere in the military doing nothing. And then for an experiment, they're looking for the most average guy. And they're like, hey, you are a perfect candidate for this. And he's like, I have to do much. Like, no, we're going to put you to sleep. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do it. So they freeze him. They were supposed to freeze him and then unfreeze him like very fast to just try to develop the technology. But when he's frozen, they cancel the project. And I think they even arrest. I don't remember this detail. They arrest the scientist, so they leave him frozen. So he wakes up 500 years in the future, or so, or 300 years, like in the future in the States. Long story short, we find out really fast that he's the smartest man alive, just an average Joe from nowadays. So we see a lot of exaggerated things. What happened is that all the stupid people, they just kept on reproducing because they show actually the graph of a guy like, yeah, and there's like, oh, I have 2 lovers and 1 wife, and in 20 years he is responsible directly or indirectly for like 100 humans. And then people that are prepared and have all the intention of making the world better, they're like, oh, it's not a good time to have kids, and then they don't reproduce. So this escalated globally, makes that everybody's an idiot in the future. And this guy is like, what? He saves the crops because they're using Gatorade. Like, oh, because it has electrolytes. It's good for the plants. And he's like, have you tried water? He's like, what? That's for the toilet. It's like, just try water. And like, what? He's solving the food crisis in the planet. It's funny now because it's a lot of parallelisms with things that are happening actually today. You know, the president of the United States, it's a ex-wrestler.
Ah, okay. Like an ex-entertainer, celebrity
Ex-entertainer,
type. Okay.
yeah. Everybody in Congress is like shooting guns. People live hooked to TVs that are, you know, like very comfy and a lot of screens all the time. It's a bomb, man. Like,
That sounds interesting, man.
Idiocracy, it's probably still available on Disney Plus, but, you know, we have the DVD. Highly recommended.
That's great. One thing I remember from this, having not seen it, someone raised it with me.
Yeah.
I do some work in a part-time capacity as a chef.
All right.
And I swore forever I will not wear Crocs. Everyone wears Crocs because it's
Yeah.
the best working shoe in that scenario. But I was like,
You're standing too long.
They're tragic. I hate them. I hate the look of them. And then I bought a pair and I can't not wear them because they're so good.
They're so comfy.
It's so comfy. It's excellent. And a friend of mine, I told him this, and he said, "Oh, in Idiocracy, they wanted the future people to have the stupidest looking shoes possible. So they found a startup that was making a ridiculous shoe before it was famous, and it was Crocs.
It was Crocs. So everybody in Idiocracy is wearing Crocs. Not everybody, but it's like the shoe, of the standard shoe.
But it was before they were
Before
even big.
they were famous, they were like, oh, they look so stupid. And now it's like...
Everyone's wearing Crocs.
Everybody's wearing
and now
Crocs.
there's high fashion Crocs. There's stilettos.
There's
like fashion
collaborations, super
It's
expensive. Man,
insane.
It is. So there's a lot of parallelisms with how stupid choices are being made, and people that have, let's call it common sense, they're like, no, that's stupid. It's like, I often, like in my real life, often say is Idiocracy all over. So watch it. It's an old movie.
Enjoy it. Yeah, what year was it?
2005, 2006, something like that.
20 years now.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Do you have a recommendation for me?
I do. So mine is a podcast.
All right.
It's a comedy podcast.
I love that.
It's 2 comedians from the New York scene, Kevin Ryan and H. Foley. They were very much, staples of that New York comedy scene for the last 15, 20 years. They've been going really hard.
All right.
But they hadn't kind of reached that next point of popularity
Of fame.
and so on.
And then, actually, I don't know them, but maybe if I see them, I'm like, oh yeah, I know
You
him.
probably will because they're big online and so on.
Yeah.
But they just before the 2020 time when we were all kind of locked in watching TV, they started a podcast called Are You Garbage?
Are you garbage?
Are you garbage? And it is my favorite thing. It's the thing I consume the most. And it's basically, the premise is just them, like us right now, the two of them with a producer.
Yeah.
And it's something that the thing I love about it is that they came up with it organically. So they used to go on the road and they would just play this game to entertain each other. Like, is it garbage if you XYZ? Like, is it garbage if you hold the fork like this? Little things that everyone has, like, is it garbage if you brush your teeth in the shower?
Oh.
Is it garbage if you put your socks on before your underwear?
Oh,
Just
like
these little
about
things
life.
about like, and it's interesting because it's the problem boils down to beyond just money. Like, you can be rich and trashy, and you can be poor and
have class.
classy.
Yeah.
And so there's this dynamic.
When you said the setup, I thought, like, is it garbage? It's called?
Yeah, are you garbage?
Are you garbage?
Are you garbage?
I thought they were gonna be talking about comedians.
Okay, like
these comedians
this guy's
suck.
trash. Yeah, no.
Is he trash or is he worth it?
So there's definitely a little bit of that, but interestingly, they have guests as well. So all of your favorite, now at this point they're huge. They're one of the biggest podcasts, like on YouTube and Spotify.
All right.
So they've interviewed probably all of your favorite comedians, actors. Like Tony Hawk's been on there.
Oh, I want to check it out.
So it's really interesting because we've had, for example, Tony Hawk's a great one. He's done 100 big shows, and you know kind of like his background, the skateboarding scene and everything. But what they ask him is, what's your McDonald's order? And then that becomes like a 5-minute thing. He's like, cheeseburger, no onions, and then they're like, oh, and then they kind of delve into whether that's
is that garbage or not,
and then it's a deeper dive into people's their inner workings and their upbringing and the family dynamic that they grew up with.
And it's a comedy podcast.
And it's so and on top of that, they're the funniest comedians you could imagine.
I definitely have to check it out.
It's really great. I'm subscribed to the Patreon. I'm like in their community.
Super fan.
I'm just like so in. They're so good. Can't recommend it enough.
Well,
are you garbage,
folks?
podcast?
Are you garbage?
And I am actually quite garbage based on the criteria.
You're like, they're talking about something I don't know.
God, yeah, we did that when I was a kid. Yeah.
The question that automatically comes to my head is, I have a joke about it. There's a lot of places where they tell you, please do not put the toilet paper in the toilet. And I'm like, it's called toilet paper.
Yeah.
Please put it in the bin.
Of course, one of those places is Bolivia. The whole country. No, man, but it's a problem.
When people tell you like, no, it's because our pipes are so bad that the paper will clog it. And then I go like, okay, third world, you know what? It happened to us in my grandma's house. All right. But when you're in the first world and it says, do not put the papers on the toilet, use the trash, I'm like, what kind of savages are these people? Why do you want to collect people's poop in the fucking trash can? Are you going to empty it every 15 minutes? Or are we just going to have the whole day of poop in that bin in front of us or next to us? So I always ignore it. I always put it because the fucking toilet paper is designed to dissolve eventually in water.
That's the whole point.
That's why you don't use napkins. Don't use
kitchen roll,
but toilet.
No, totally. And you must have experienced it as well. Sometimes you're at like a stadium or a music event or something, and you can't flush the paper.
Yeah.
So the bin is full not just of toilet paper, but newspaper clippings, pieces of, and it's just steaming. And
you're like, you know what? I don't need to go.
Yeah, I
actually just gonna change my whole nature and hack my system. I don't need to go.
I'd rather
not.
Yeah.
Well, with that shitty note, that's the show, man. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Episode 1.
Episode 1. We did it with the pilot.
Thanks a lot.
And that thing we have to forget about forever.
Yes.
Well, my name is Chadmax, and this is my friend Sandy Jones. We are Amigos and Friends.
Amigos and Friends.
See you next one.
See you next time, guys.
Bye.
Somos amigos and friends.